Hey Royals, this is Mademoiselle Mosley. I hope everybody is doing fine tonight. I want to talk about something. You know your work is almost complete. I'm talking about that inner work. When things that, when something just pops up in your mind that happened so long ago and you're not even thinking about that in your mind, you're not meditating. You know how you meditate and you can bring things into your mind and you can deal with them. How you know that you about to be finished with that work. When you get finished with that work, you know you can still work within, you can still work on yourself while you're within your purpose. But when you get through with your work becomes a blessing to other people's purpose. So you have to work through your work so that you can help somebody work. So it's like the other day I was just sitting. No, I don't. No, I wasn't. I was doing something. You know, I'm always busy. Getting something done that need to be done, and something popped in my mind that happened when I was about 16 years old. Wasn't thinking about it. Thought I had dealt with it, but sometimes God will allow that stuff just to come up, just to come up because now you're ready to deal with it. So it's going to come up and you have to deal with it. So I've dealt with the things that have happened recent in my life. Now I'm getting to the part where I'm getting down to the root so that I can that's when you see somebody actually physically their fruits change because they've gotten to the root. A lot of things that how we look has a lot to do with has a lot to do with our roots. How we look on the outside has a lot to do with what's rooted inside of us. That's why a lot of people when they start to get some people go to counseling, some people just, face the facts and deal with the facts and get down into it and just really live in the truth of the matter and then everything else has to shatter. It's like the the deeper you get within your roots. You know how somebody actually goes and take a tree and they dig up under there and they get all the roots out because it's starting to take over under the house and all over the yard, and you can't plant anything. You never seen them trees that they roots start to come up out the ground and you could see it actually, you could visualize it. That means there's some more things going on underneath. So once you start dealing with what's underneath, what's inside of you, the root of the matter, everything's going to change. Your body, your skin, your hair, it's just everything, just how you view the world, because a lot of the bad roots are blocking you from seeing the actual situation at hand that you can do something about. You can do something about you and your view and the truth of what happened to you. You don't need nobody to validate you to get through what you're trying to get through. You go, well, don't you remember when you do? No. Some people are not going to validate you. You know how you go to a parking lot and you go to a certain building, and when you come out, if they validate your parking, I mean you get out and you don't have to pay nothing. Some people want you to pay for the shit they done to you. They want you to pay in a funny kind of way. They just want you to pay. They won't say they know what they did. They know what they said. They want you to pay. So don't wait on somebody to validate you. Don't wait for somebody to come and say, "Oh, I'm sorry for what I did." Don't wait on that. Validate your own parking or pay the price for your own parking. Give them $10, drive about that parking garage and get with life. Get in traffic. You know what I'm saying? Start going places. And I'm not trying to literally talking about going from one place to the next. I'm saying going places within yourself. Don't wait on them to apologize. Now they looking all stupid and said like you supposed to feel sorry for them for what they did to you. You know what I'm saying? Don't wait for that apology. Don't wait for them to say what they did, the truth. Don't wait on that, because some people ain't gonna never, because they ain't dealt with their own roots. So they ain't gonna help you dig up your roots and get new fruits. Let me finish this thing. So, like I said, a thing popped up in my mind, and it was very, very vivid. It was almost like it was, I could see it actually happening. But God was like, you're almost there. I went through the process of processing it to the fullest, because sometimes when we don't process it, or we're holding grudges, or we're still angry with that person, it kind of keeps us stifled. It keeps us right there. Even though we're growing older, even though we've achieved a lot of goals, and they're like, we still stuck right there until we deal with it, until we, you know, go through the Rolodex of life and throw that card away. Have you had a Rolodex? Well, y'all might don't know what a Rolodex is, but a Rolodex used to be where you keep numbers in and you go through there, and so now and then you clean it out on the numbers that no longer in service, or people you're no longer dealing with, or no longer dealing with you. And you just take them out because they're just taking up room. You know what I'm saying? And you're almost there. So it was my 16-year-old self. So as I dealt with that, it was just, I was like, God, I wasn't even trying to think about this. He said, you're at that point where things are coming up and out to make room for what I'm about to give you. God is about to give y'all something, but you have to make room for it. Do that make sense? You can't allow what God has for you to get contaminated with everything that happened to you. So you got to get it out. You got to get it out. You got to let go and let God. You have to just, so that you can really love and you can really live life and you can really be free, that you're not walking around here with these insecurities that everybody sees what you know, but they really can't see anything. That's just you not wanting what's inside of you to show. And you remember that saying, I don't know if you guys know, like when you have a deck of cards and you start dealing from the top, eventually you're going to get to the bottom. That's just like chords. You start dealing from the top, eventually you're going to get to the bottom. You got to deal with everything that has happened to you so that you can play the hand that God has for you. See, I always talk about that inner trauma. That's always been my theme that I speak about with you all. Excuse me for a moment. I always speak about that inner trauma. And if we do not deal with the inner trauma, it doesn't matter what we have on the outside. If we haven't dealt with what's on the inside. If we still holding on to things, it's like this. I remember when something that happened to me, very traumatic in my younger days. And I would see the person, and it was almost like they were looking right through me, seeing me but not seeing me, because a lot of people don't want to live with the reality of what it is that they tried to do to you didn't destroy you. To some point, it elevated you above those who did what they thought they was doing to you to ruin you. And that's why we have to heal. That's why we have to go inside. That's why we have to change the roots so that we can also change our fruits. Oftentimes, when you see people that are maybe not looking, quote unquote, like they're supposed to look, there is something deeper inside that is bothering them. And as soon as they deal with it, it's like everything changes, because the inside determines the outside. And when I say determines the outside, not that you can accumulate all these things, houses, cars, and all this stuff, and clothes and all that kind of stuff. It distorts the way you view other people. It distorts your frequency, so you can't draw what it is that you really want, because your frequency is off. Your range is low. Your range is slow. Your range is not strong. That's why your signals are off. That's why you get with people you shouldn't be with. That's why you deal with people longer than you should deal with them, because your signal is weak. When your signal is weak, like that means the frequency that you're giving off to people. So you decide to deal with people on a weak frequency like you, and you go through things that you shouldn't have to go through, that if your frequency was strong, you would be like, nah, this wrong. No, I'm not dealing with this. No, I deserve better than this. No, that ain't now. I ain't finna even do that. But sometimes when your frequency is weak, you will entertain things that you know that you should not entertain, just because you feel like you don't deserve the real thing. So we got to get with the roots to change the fruits. We started dealing from the top, but we got to always deal from the bottom, so we can get the hand that God has dealt for us. God has already given us a winning hand. He has already given us a royal flush. So I hope that helped y'all. Like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, get it before it gets you. And I'm out.